And I think that terrifies me in a way that like I can't really conceptualize. There's been a lot of stories about the technology of this, just a way of activating the entire network simultaneously. So then the AI recognition software turns on, identifies the dogs, and as of now, as I can understand, it's a dog-based product.
Hey, Jamie, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
I want to tell you a good story that happened a couple weeks ago. You were in Rome, so I didn't get to tell you. But as you know, I live in Arkansas, so hunting dogs are a very big deal here. People value them. Everyone, like, you can go dove hunting and things like that. So hunting dogs are a big deal. But we got this notification that went out over the Ring camera network, and it was this guy, his two hunting dogs had gotten loose and like was freaking out about it and asking anyone to help. It turns out that my neighbor saw that notification, and then just like a minute or two later, her Ring camera went off and it was the dogs. And so she was able to connect the owner with, they found the dogs, and he was able to get them back unharmed. But I thought that was such a positive story, and also sounds a little bit like a recent ad.
Yeah. That is, first off, that's awesome. On one hand, it's awesome. That's fantastic because I can only assume there's a lot of land where you live where if a dog gets loose, it's actually very possible to lose them. Whereas I think in smaller communities, people forget like dogs will be seen by other people, but like in a wide spaced out area, it's probably hard. So so what? Wait, first, what's the Ring network? What is that? I don't have a Ring.
The Ring doorbell cameras.
Yeah, I know the doorbell cameras, but I didn't know what is that? What's the thing you're talking about? Like,
So you can sign up for like neighborhood alerts, and
okay,
like a few weeks before that, we had a small child with disabilities got lost in like a holler somewhere. And so they were mobilizing the community to go and do walks through the woods to try and find the missing child. They ended up locating him. But you can do calls to action like that. You can send out an alert like, oh, this person was trying to get in my truck last night. It can be cries for help or warnings, either way. I also get severe weather alerts through them, so super helpful when we experience tornadoes. But the network's pretty cool.
interesting. So did they so the ad I think you're referencing is Search Party,
Mm-hmm.
which is a technology that Ring, owned by Amazon, put out. And this commercial, I think it was, when did this commercial come out? Was it a Super Bowl commercial? I think it was. It was a very popular Super Bowl commercial, I think, where.
See, I have it up and ready to go.
Nice, yeah.
This is Milo. Pets are family. But every year, 10 million go missing. And the way we look for them hasn't changed in years. Until now. One post of a dog's photo in the Ring app starts outdoor cameras looking for a match. Search Party from Ring uses AI to help families find lost dogs. Since launch, more than a dog a day has been reunited with their family. Be a hero in your neighborhood with Search Party. Available to everyone for free right now. Join the neighborhood at ring.com.
Okay, so the original feeling I had of how happy I was, I forgot all about that commercial. So the original feeling just turned into like, I just got really like upset. And I think it was because there's a line in that commercial where it turns on all the cameras. And I think that terrifies me in a way that like I can't really conceptualize. So I think because I think there's been a lot of stories about the technology of this. Like Search Party, I forgot what it was until that the commercial was back up there, but it seems like Search Party is just a way of activating the entire network simultaneously. So then the AI recognition software turns on, identifies the dogs, and as of now, as I can understand, it's a dog-based product. Like it's designed that way. But I think even Ronan Farrow reported that is for now, that in a meeting with investors, the guy who's on that camera, the founder guy said for now, he's basically like, that's how we start this project and that's what we do with it. Yes, here's the clip. So he basically goes in depth about like what this product is. And it's like I said, at first it seems nice, but then all of a sudden like the idea of it simultaneously like really starts getting me like all weirded out. Now, we've been talking about this for episodes upon episodes, and a lot of our critique about the on-off system, the easy answers about what to do about people online. Should we ban young people from the internet? Should we find all these things? This is a big part of the conversation about privacy and surveillance, because all of our technologies, possibly not this one because we have to activate it as a pull system, but all of our social media technologies are extractive. The idea of the infinite scroll was designed specifically for time spent. And so extractive technologies are designed as surveillance technologies. They're designed to watch you doing something because it gains more data about you. So I always have this very big, like, I think we're missing the point when we talk about social media bans, because we're not talking about like the privacy restrictions that we should be talking about, or like regulations on our personal data. And cameras, like whether they're face-borne, doorbells, or whatever, seem like a good idea until they're not. And it's really because they're not, has less to do with the technology than it has to do with the history of technology itself. Because typically the people who develop these technologies are white dudes. So we always forget, and we've talked about this on multiple episodes. There's no reason to rehash that. People can go back through our catalog and look at my whole criticisms, like what happens when you leave out women's voices or marginalized voices or Black voices. Like you just get a technology that's not only incomplete, but actually sort of dangerous to them, particularly like women, let's say like technologies in which you're tracking your cycle, like that type of technology seems like a good idea until restrictions on abortion bans come out, where now that data could become litigious against somebody. Or like when the Xbox 360 came out and it couldn't see Black skin. So like Black people couldn't use it. And it's like, well, who developed that? Well, who do you think developed it? And so the problem, of course, like with Ring, isn't so much its altruistic idea of like saving your family. A dog is family, saving part of your family and making sure they return safely. It's about what else can it do. And I think the Ring network thing you were talking about is kind of neat, but it also, there's a lot of Ring people, and correct me if I'm wrong, that also engage with Citizen app. Like there's a whole bunch of other apps that are like partial to that, right?
Yes, I have too many feelings on Citizen because, small digression, my husband's a retired cop and he loves Citizen. And he loved it when he was a cop and he loves it now. But the issue that I have with it now, not because I had different privacy issues when he was a cop, but now is that he is so zoned in on whatever weird disaster is not happening around us. And I really just dislike that surveillance from afar on a disaster that is not impacting our community. And it kind of gives me an ick that
Interesting.
is not, I'm not a fan. I get
Yeah.
it, but I'm not a fan of us observing other communities' tragedies.
I never thought of that part at all. That's like sort of a weird, surreal version of like disaster tourism that's like available by UGC. Interesting. That's a whole other thing. Wow, that's not just a tangent. It's an amazing thought. I'd never thought of that. That's crazy.
Well, because you can see shootings and stuff like that. Like, I'm
Yeah,
a
you
true
can
crime
see what's going
junkie.
on.
I love true crime, but there's something about observing it in real time that feels like a privacy issue.
Yeah,
I
grim.
don't like it.
What I know is that Citizen, and this is from actual studies, this is from real research. This also goes back to the time that Ring decided to make a product that was short-lived with Wanda Sykes as host called Ring Nation. Ring was deciding to do like an America's Funniest Videos reboot where you capture the funniest things you do, America. The funniest things you do on camera, like accidents, mishaps, fall down the stairs on your Ring camera, you submit it to the show and they just air it. But it was also like normalizing the idea of surveillance as primary, as your main camera. And it made people feel really icky, only because there's this whole minstrel type of thing for Black people that go with this too, which is that one, for a while, I don't know if you remember, like, do you remember for a while people leave notes on their door being like, if you do a dance, I'll leave you a tip, or like this will happen. Like, so there was like a whole bunch of Amazon workers. I'll just show a quick slide of that just so you could like see it. Like, this is from a Deca I did some time ago about surveillance. This is some gifs of that, but you can actually see like here's some examples of like people kind of being forced to act for a camera that they're being surveilled for. And so that's like this weird, it's
Ew.
just weird. Yeah, it was the proper response there. So now, like when I hear about okay, we're looking for dogs, search party works, it operates in an AI spectrum. But the normalization of surveillance is kind of like the overarching goal, I think, of a lot of like of extractive technologies, is how to gain data that we can't gain elsewhere. Because I think surveillance, especially Ring camera surveillance, you're actually getting the rare piece of data that's what's known as authentic data, like how people act when they don't think they're being watched. So there is extra data in that I think is like being an attempt to be monetized. There's another critique I have. There's the rapper Jack Harlow did an entire music video using Ring cameras, and the name of it is Hello, Miss Johnson. Yeah, which is a cute video, but wildly disturbing. So here's the cute parts of it, right? Which is like you see, it seems low, but like neighborhood. This is you see the multiple angles. The entire video, this entire video is shot on Ring. Now, some of it's choreographed. Obviously, that's staged. The director stages these events to happen. Some of them are mimicked to be what really would be. But really, it's a story about like Jack Harlow singing to his girlfriend's mom to try to explain like how good of a guy he is. But the whole thing is told via surveillance. It makes it seem palatable. Like you can't actually see people unless you see them as surveilled human beings. But it really is also about AI because the camera doesn't turn on without movement. So it does require, you can stop the video here. They could the the training data on that worries me because now I'm going to take a huge leap on this, but there was an article that came out that really upset me, that made me think of this more lately. Um, and it's this article here that was wild. Okay. Fully autonomous drones have killed human soldiers for the first time. And this is June 10th. Then this article appears. A senior figure in the Ukrainian defense industry told New Scientist that a took place 2 years ago involving fully autonomous drones set to destroy anything in a given area with confirmed casualties. Okay, so I'm not going to read the article more than that, but this is indifference to what we often see in wartime drone footage of an operator operating usually a large-sized drone to go and do reconnaissance missions, fly around, capture things, and sometimes carry munitions and blow up people, which is terrifying, okay? Because it's like you hear a buzzing sound in the air, and these aren't like the drones of the Obama era where they're like so high up you'll never ever see them. Like these are drones where you could actually hear them. They sound like what I call like spicy birds. You know, they're just like there. I call it that because my poor dog, Ziti, he hated drones. When I'd fly it, he tried to bite it, and his poor nose got clipped on it once. It was sad. Yeah, he wanted that spicy bird. And had he had a talent for jumping, like he would have been good for that. But anyway, in this case, the reason drones can do these types of attacks is it's using facial recognition or body recognition, which means it's getting training data from somewhere. Drones don't start killing people. That's the end part. Okay. So somewhere is this original training data. And so what I always worry about when I see something like Search Party, which I think, again, you started this with a beautiful story. I love the story of like somebody reunited with their dogs. But what else is it capturing? Like if all the cameras are on simultaneously, you're actually in a very weird and amazing way, creating a very immersive digital experience. Like who's to say somewhere in some room, they're not Tony Starking it with a huge room and just taking your entire neighborhood and projecting it on a wall. And you're now walking through that neighborhood. Like, do you remember, were you on the trip when we went to Ireland and saw the cave? Did you see the cave, the smart town? Yeah. So that was so weird because people can do work digitally in a room while working in a town nearby because they're projecting that town into another box, a cave unit. I forgot what cave stands for, but this could be cave matrix size, you know? So it is one of those things where it's like, I feel torn on this because there is a technology part which feels good, but it's attached to a technology part that feels really bad.
Well, and to hit a line that maybe goes right down the middle, have been watching a lot of Homicide New Orleans, which is a new Netflix show, and The First 48. And the first thing that they do in those investigations after they send the body to the morgue is canvas for cameras. Constantly. That's the number one thing they do. And I mean, people can give it freely and willingly. I feel like a lot more people are doing that because then it's like, oh man, you did it in front of the camera. You can subpoena for camera footage, right? So, you know, a court can make you hand that over and then you can rat without having to be a rat. It's like, oh man, what do you want me to do? You know what I mean? You shouldn't have shot that guy or girl. You know, there's a lot of women that get murdered on those shows. But that's both good and bad. It always makes me feel horrible for the victim because then that's getting played on The First 48. Their last moments, which are horrible, but also that allowed police to solve a crime. So it's good and bad. So I think this is one of those technologies that there's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad. And I don't necessarily know if there's a way to make it, there's a way to only make it bad, but like, you know what I mean?
No, you're onto something here. I think your point is really important here because in many ways we've lacked over the course of decades hard evidence and data that prove things without a doubt. Video evidence is the most powerful evidence you could have. And it allows law to work better, if not more accurately, than any time that we've had for witnesses, because witness failure is high. The highest problem that you could have in court is witness failure. Witnesses in general are unreliable. But having video data is the most important. And it's especially important for women in particular who are based on patriarchy and bias, often dismissed. Women are often dismissed when they're asked questions, whereas video evidence supports the data. So you're right, like there is a middle line, which is like the video technologies are there for a purpose. I think my problem that I have with this is Amazon. I think it just comes down to the system. I think it just comes down to like, can we trust these extractive CEOs to operate this right? And when somebody, like as Ronan Farrow reported, when a CEO says, we start with dogs and then doesn't give an answer of what we end with, and you know for a fact that technology exists that allows AI to make autonomous decisions of life or death, they're not unrelated, you know? So it's like these types of things are that gray area that make me concerned for it. And so my overall hesitation towards surveillance technologies in general, it overrides my safety things, but there is a middle ground. It's just as with everything, the same thing when it comes back to like the question of like banning the internet or not banning it. It comes down to if we had better privacy and data regulation, I think a lot of these conversations would change. And in the meantime, I'm very happy to hear the dogs are reunited. But I think as long as we keep our skepticism of overall surveillance, I think we'll be okay with that. Thank you for watching Network Issues. And you can follow us on Instagram and YouTube and keep up with our episodes. You could subscribe to our playlist so you can keep up with new episodes. And thanks so much.